Welcome back to Empower Indie Podcast. This podcast creates space for honest conversations about health, well-being, and community resources to help people in southwestern North Dakota live healthy, full lives. The Empower Indie Podcast is produced by Women Empowering Women, a nonprofit organization dedicated to connecting, supporting, and educating women to help them become the best versions of themselves. To become a member or learn more, visit wewnetwork.org. Today, we're joined by lactation consultant Regina Martin to talk about what breastfeeding really looks like in those early days after birth. We get into what tends to catch new moms off guard, how to tell the difference between normal newborn behavior and something that might need support. Let's get started. Okay, can you just introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Regina Martin. I am a birth doula, lactation counselor, childbirth educator, birth photographer. I do a lot of different things, wear a lot of different hats. I've lived in North Dakota for 17 years almost. I have 4 kids and a husband and a dog and chickens, and we just live life.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll just start into the content. So, what is a lactation consultant?
So, lactation consultant, boil it down, it is a professional trained in supporting people through breastfeeding. Um, and that can be pumping directly at the breast, combination feeding, whatever it looks like to feed your baby. Lactation counselor has specialty in that.
Okay. So, for moms who are about to start their breastfeeding journey, what do you wish they knew before baby even arrives?
I wish they knew what normal, physiologically normal breastfeeding looks like, newborn behavior looks like, that it does not look like the baby just wakes up every 2 to 3 hours and is ready to eat. And that feed your baby every 2 to 3 hours is maybe more like every half an hour and then every 4 hours, or,
Right.
that bottle feeding culture does not translate over to breastfeeding. Yeah,
I think that's a good tip. What does successful breastfeeding actually look like in real life, not just on social media?
that is extremely dependent on the family and on the
Right.
mom. What are her definitions of success? Is that being able to breastfeed when you're with your baby and formula feeding when you're away from your baby,
Right.
whatever that looks like for you. Are you doing it because of the bond? Are you doing it because it's really important to you to exclusively breastfeed your baby? You define your own success.
I think that's a good thing to really make moms not have that pressure.
Hmm.
So for me, I had twins and there was my second birth, and I really wanted to exclusively breastfeed them, but it was way too overstimulating. And so I pumped and my family fed them,
Hmm.
and we would all go back to bed at the same time.
Nice.
And that was success for
Mhm.
us,
Absolutely.
and it wasn't the baby to the breast, and it was totally different than what
Hmm.
other people do,
Right.
but it worked really well.
Right. If I had to sum it up in one word, to me, success is sustainability.
Right.
Whatever looks sustainable for you, for your family, for your mental health, for your
Right.
physical health, it all needs to come together.
Definitely. So, the early days of breastfeeding, when those first few days hit and emotions are high, what challenges tend to catch moms most off guard?
I think, again, back to how often newborns need to feed,
Right.
need to be at the breast,
Yeah.
especially with your first kid and you kind of are used to just going and having your whole own life and like not being touched constantly.
Yeah.
And then you have this baby that finishes eating, and 20 minutes later, they're ready to nurse again. And you're like, no, like,
Yeah, and I think a lot of moms think that they are doing something wrong or the baby's not
yes.
getting milk because the baby wants to eat again so soon,
Hmm.
and it's just that's how they're learning what
Yes.
hunger is and
Hmm.
what being full is and what their cues are.
Yes. And their tummies are so tiny, and
Right.
breast milk digests so quickly. And yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, so that kind of leads into our next thing. Low milk supply is something many moms worry about. So what are the actual signs of low supply versus normal newborn behavior?
We can kind of go down a rabbit trail with this because is it actually low milk supply or is it poor milk transfer? Um, there's different signs between actually having low milk supply or your baby not getting enough milk. Um, True low milk supply is actually a fairly low percentage of moms, but baby not getting enough milk, that is something that we see far more
Right.
commonly. So things like if they're not, after day 6, if they're not, having 6 dirty diapers every single day.
So one of the things that I do as a provider is I will have moms, I really encourage them that if they're struggling in those first few days or weeks of breastfeeding, that we can do a pre and post feed in the
Mhm,
clinic, wait, and then they know exactly what they transferred.
mhm,
And we know if we actually have a problem,
mhm,
if the transfer is actually a problem, I will always encourage them to come in and to do that so that
mhm,
they get some reassurance, though
mhm,
that data really helps them
mhm,
to know, okay, they did eat.
mhm.
They did get some
Right.
milk.
Right, because it's not as easy. There's not a gauge on the side of your breast that, like,
Right.
you can see, like, "Okay, they drank
Yeah.
this much milk."
So you weigh them before they
Yes.
feed and you weigh
Mhm,
them after, and they get that data
mhm.
to see that they transferred the milk.
Right.
The baby now has more milk,
Mhm,
has more weight because they ate,
mhm.
and then they go home more reassured that
Yes.
it is working.
Mhm. Yeah.
And maybe their baby just really enjoys to feed every 20 minutes.
Right, right.
So cluster feeding can make moms feel like they're failing. Can you explain what is really happening during that stage?
There's a variety of things that can be going on that can be prompting cluster feeding. Very, very common for moms to see cluster feeding behavior in the evening. Um, and this is because typically um, mom's prolactin levels are at their lowest in the evening. So you just don't have quite the amount of milk. So baby is just not quite getting the amount of milk that they're looking for.
Mhm.
Um, I'm sure that there's also some studies and like whatever out there about like just babies have their own biological, physiological, whatever that they need to be with mom in the evening.
Mhm.
I don't know anything about that side of the science, but um so that's very common. Like they're just looking. Another reason is sometimes they're going through a growth spurt.
Mhm.
And so they do need, they really just they're bulking up on their calories. Um so just because your baby's cluster feeding doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. um, your baby is really smart. Um, and more often than not, you put baby to breast. When in doubt, put baby to breast, and it's going to work out.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to educate moms too on how their body responds physically. And so that nerve stimulation of the nipple really
Hmm.
explains to their body that they need to produce more milk
Hmm.
so that the baby can have enough milk the next time. So every time they cluster feed, it's the baby telling the breast, hey,
Hmm.
make more milk.
Hmm.
I need more milk. And so every nerve stimulation actually increases milk
Hmm.
production. And then as they're going through a growth spurt, that's why the cluster feeds
Hmm.
happen, is so that they can continue
Yes.
to produce more.
Yes. Thank you for filling in that background.
So, at what point should breastfeeding discomfort or pain become a concern instead of something moms just push through?
Some some nipple tenderness in the first 2 to 3 weeks we would consider normal. Um, Toe curling pain, cracks, bruises, scabs on the nipples, like that level of nipple trauma, even if it's like, oh, it's just a little blister. No, it's not normal. It's not normal. It's common. That does not mean it's normal. That means there's something going on with the latch. And that warrants a visit to a lactation professional or care provider
Right.
of some variety that can help you work on that latch. It's not going to get better just pushing through and oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's painful.
Yes, it hurts so bad.
What are the biggest latch mistakes you see that can lead to pain, frustration, or poor milk transfer?
Um, Maternal positioning. Whatever position mom is in, and often we just imitate what we see in TV or, just whatever. Um, and so maybe not paying attention to some of those good positioning, having the baby's ear, shoulder, and hip lined up.
Mhm.
Um, or realizing that like, "Mom, you can recline. You don't need to, like, sit up straight in this, like,
Yeah.
stiff chair, like, bent over your baby holding" like, actually, your baby feeds better if you're reclined. Mom's comfort in positioning is also so important,
Mhm.
and so a lot of times there's just tweaks that with positioning that can help a lot.
Right. Yeah, I always give moms the kind of an analogy. I saw it in a breastfeeding course at this one time, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And so this lady, she takes this really messy hamburger and she puts it in front of her, and she's like trying to take a bite. And she's like, okay, how would you take a bite of a big hamburger? You would go up
Hmm.
and over, you know? So how would your baby feed like this?
Right.
Trying to get
Yes.
that big hamburger in their mouth,
Mhm.
and so, like, that visualization of seeing how the jaw really does have to, like,
Right.
go up and over the
Right.
nipple to be able to transfer milk
Right.
is huge for moms because they're
Right.
like when they're looking at their baby, they don't realize, like, oh, their jaw has to be
Mhm.
aligned with the nipple to be able to transfer this milk, or
Mhm.
they're trying to eat a hamburger sideways.
Right. Or even like think about us, like think about trying to drink
Yeah, you
sideways,
can't
like
drink
even as an
sideways.
adult, like
Yeah, that's not gonna
it's
work.
weird and no.
So to be able to swallow and get the milk, you
Mhm.
know, and to be able to transfer, like,
Mhm.
it really does have to be aligned,
Mhm.
and the positioning helps, and so a lot of moms are trying to, like they're just very awkwardly positioned, and they don't
Right.
realize that it's okay for them to be comfortable while they
Yes.
do it.
Yes. All of the pillows. I
Yeah,
mean, within safety and,
right.
whatever, but yeah.
So are there foods, hydration habits, or routines that help milk production?
No. There's a lot of things on like mom Facebook groups that
Mhm,
people claim help. Um, Being hydrated is never a bad thing. Drinking your blue Powerade is not going to hurt anything. It's probably not going to make you make more milk. Um, the best thing, the best routine to being able to make more milk is feeding your baby frequently, emptying the breast
right.
frequently.
Yeah, and that's the nerve stimulation, like, it's
Yes,
gonna produce. It's telling the brain
right.
and the body and the
Yes,
hormones that they need to produce more
yes.
milk.
An empty breast or a breast that's kept empty makes more milk.
Right.
Like, yeah, hands down.
What are the early signs of clogged ducts or mastitis that moms should pay attention to before it becomes serious, and how can you help prevent these issues?
So, again, the root problem of a lot of those things are poor latch, um, even poor oral function on baby's part. Early signs would be areas of soreness in the breast, redness, swelling. Usually, often you can feel a lump where a plug duct is. With mastitis, you would have that plus fever. You feel like you're hit by a truck.
Yeah.
um, so any of those symptoms you would want to get checked out or just, stay on top of. Um, yeah.
And it's important for them to understand that they need to keep emptying the breast
Hmm.
too,
Yes.
because getting engorged on top of that is
Hmm.
not definitely not something you want.
Yes. Ice packs can come in handy.
Mhm.
Keeping the area cool is going to help bring down the inflammation. It used to be that we were just recommending heat, heat, heat.
Right.
Now the evidence is kind of like actually cold is better. And yeah.
So, emotionally, what do you think is the hardest part of breastfeeding for most moms?
Um, I think back to that just constantly being needed.
Yeah.
Um, and feeling kind of suffocated and claustrophobic and isolated and yeah.
Lack of sleep.
Yes. Yeah, and the lack of sleep, like that right there is huge no matter if you're breastfeeding or not or
Right. So, what are some ways moms can protect their mental health while breastfeeding?
having your support
Definitely.
team around you. Having
Yeah.
good support is huge. Um, Ideally, if mom can stay on the couch and nurse her baby and somebody else is feeding and hydrating her
Mhm.
and then like giving her a little break to go outside and take a walk, like perfect. Like you do need
Yeah.
those windows, you need those breaks. Um, but yeah,
What role does support from partners, family, or friends really play in breastfeeding success?
huge. If everybody around you is saying, "Oh, give it up," or "Oh, you're not
Mhm.
making enough milk," or "Oh, the baby this, the baby," it's going to be so much harder for you. If there is a nursing mom in your group, keep her in the group. If she has to
Right.
feed her baby, let her feed her baby. realize that if you have a breastfeeding family member, you're probably going to see a breast at some point. It's normal. It's the way nature works. Um, and if, you know, a lot a lot of moms feel very isolated when they're breastfeeding, and that's a big part of it is when they feel like they have to go to the other room to breastfeed,
Yeah.
or everyone is sitting around the table, having a good time, and she's over in the living room caring for baby, keep her included.
Yeah, when I was, in nursing school, I was pumping for my twins. I had just had them when I started nursing school, and I remember some really young girls that were in my nursing school class, in the bathroom because the only place to pump was in the bathroom in a stall. So I had my cord, like, running out because this was before the time of, like, cordless stuff where you can
Mhm,
walk around the house while you pump.
mhm.
This was a giant machine that was, like, super loud, and the cord was running across the bathroom to plug in, and these girls come in and they're like, "What is that noise? What's going on in here?" And I was just mortified because I was like, "Oh my goodness." I wanted to just walk out with no shirt and be like, "Because I have babies to feed, okay? This is what's going on."
Yes.
But that is not what a new mom needs.
No, not really. It's not very helpful.
No, not at all. Thank goodness pumps have come a long ways.
They have, yes.
So, for the mom sitting awake in the middle of the night feeling defeated, what would you want her to hear?
I would want her to hear that if she's sitting awake in the middle of the night feeling defeated, she's already a good mom, because bad moms don't sit awake in the middle of the night feeling defeated.
Yeah, it's a lot to take on as a new mom.
Mhm,
As a new parent too, I remember my husband being really worried about how to support with breastfeeding and what he could do to help and making sure that, once I decided that pumping was the way we had to go because I was too overstimulated and exhausted, he would change them, feed them while I pumped. I had
mhm,
15 minutes every few hours that I was alone
mhm,
and I was able to pump, and that was huge
mhm,
for our success,
mhm,
so just making sure that the mom also, like, expresses what she needs
mhm.
or what would make her
Yeah.
feel successful
Mhm,
so that they know what to do because they're kind of helpless in the fact that they don't know how to help,
mhm. Yeah.
so just making sure that the partners or family members have a role
Mhm.
of what actually will help.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's
100%.
different for each family,
Yeah.
but whatever that mom is like, "This is the thing that really pushes me over the edge," that's
Mhm.
what they should help with.
Yeah. Yep.
So, at what point should a mom reach out to a lactation counselor?
I mean, ideally, while she's still pregnant.
Yeah.
Establishing that relationship. If breastfeeding is something that's really important to you, something that you are really planning to do, establishing that relationship ahead of time.
Mhm.
I know I see clients all of the time while they're still pregnant. We do a prenatal visit. We talk about past breastfeeding experiences. We talk about their medical history, if there's anything that might come up that might be a
Mhm.
challenge for breastfeeding. We talk about what normal newborn behavior looks like.
Right.
Um, just and do like a lot of breastfeeding education. And then we have a roadmap for when baby gets here. You know who to call.
Right.
You've already established care, and it's gonna all be so much simpler and easier than if you are in, the fog of newborn life with a 3 day
Right.
old baby and your nipples are bleeding and baby's crying and you're crying and you're just like, I don't know what to do, you
Yeah.
know?
And I think having knowledge is really powerful for them and
Mhm.
knowing what early hunger cues look like
Mhm.
and making sure that they catch their baby when they first start showing those signs instead of when they're frantically hungry,
Yes, oh my god, yes.
because that really de-escalates the whole thing.
Yes. Yes. I preach that a lot, like,
Yeah.
"Please, just it's gonna be so much easier. You get baby to breast before they even wake up."
Yeah.
And crying is a
Mhm.
late hunger sign, and then baby's crying, and then mom's crying, and everybody's crying. We need to,
Right.
like, do a whole reset and
Yeah. What should moms expect during a lactation consultation?
So, after baby's here, typically I also do a weighted feed, typically, I do
Mhm.
a weight at the beginning of their appointment, I watch them nurse. I do a little looky-loo around their mouth just to kind of assess their oral function.
Mhm.
I have the advantage where I work with Milky Ways out of Bismarck. I work under the supervision of an IBCLC. So she gets all of my notes. She tells me what's going
Mhm.
on with this baby's oral function. Um, Anyways, and then I observe a feeding and we kind of just talk about what's going on.
Mhm.
Typically, um, I might send them with like some exercises to help with like some suck training, coordination stuff to
Mhm.
help babies latch get better, that kind of thing. But yeah,
Okay. So, if you could change one thing about how we educate moms on breastfeeding, what would it be?
that they define their own success
Mhm.
and they don't just have to push through it, seek help,
Yeah.
get support before it gets really bad, before
Mhm.
you're get support when you're not on your worst day.
Yeah, and I think that moms really need to know, and feel supported by, like, providers
Mhm.
and not pressured because being empowered, making
Mhm.
them feel like they can do it, but
Mhm.
it's okay if they don't,
Mhm.
and if they don't, that's okay.
Mhm.
And I feel like that gives them a little bit of a push sometimes when it
Mhm.
gets really hard to like, well, I don't have to do this
Mhm.
rather than I have to do this or I'm a failure.
Right. Or like even when you are seeking that support and you find tools and resources that you didn't even know exist.
Right.
You find out like, oh, this is how to use a nipple shield and this is
Mhm.
how it's going to help me and
Right.
this is what we're going to do to get off of the nipple shield and
Yeah.
but like right now, this nipple shield is keeping me from like screaming in pain when
Right.
my baby latches.
Definitely. Okay, so today's conversation is a reminder that breastfeeding is something you learn as you go. It's not always intuitive and it's not always easy, especially in those early days. If you're in the middle of it right now, you're not alone. The questions, the frustration, the exhaustion, the uncertainty, all of it is part of the process for a lot of moms, even when it feels like you're the only one going through it. We hope this gave you a little more understanding and a little more peace in whatever stage you're in. Thanks for being here. And until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and we'll see you on the next Empower Indie podcast.